So now let's move on to club power rankings. First volume of the season. The article's up on NBCSports.com on Pro Soccer Talk. Nick Mendola has taken ownership of this. So Nick, I want to kind of you to walk through 5-1 what you think of these top five so far, what these clubs have done, and maybe explain a bit of methodology. So I'm going to kick things off. You got Leeds United at number 5, which seems pretty decent after their draw of Man City to really showcase that they're not the flash in the pan that many people thought they were.
Yeah, and I thought they were too, but let's look at them. They show up on opening day against Liverpool and they're not worried. Again, maybe that's different in a loud Anfield, and they keep adding. They've spent, I think, 140 million. We haven't seen Rodrigo incredible yet, but Diego Llorente, Rafinha. These are players that are going to get the job done for them. So I'm pretty, or could get the job done for them in pushing them over the top. So I like the look of them. Joe, I had Liverpool at number 4, and this is where I want to explain the power ranking methodology.
Explain.
Yeah, look, I know they just allowed 7 goals, and it was terrible, and that they couldn't keep a clean sheet to save their lives right now. But these are the things we want to look at when we're breaking ties, especially early in the season in our power rankings. 1, form is important. How do they look? Number 2, and this folds into that, sense and strength matter. So a club like Liverpool that we've seen absolutely dominate for 2 years, I'm not going to let one knock them down to par. The table matters. Head-to-head is going to be a big tiebreaker if you're worrying between the two guys. And finally, numbers are better than luck. Look how many wicked deflections Villa got. That was not as bad as it looked on the score sheet. So, and bonus, I'll revise my golden boot. Salah's looked amazing this year. I mean, he's looked so good. So he might be the guy I would pick right now. That's why I have Liverpool at 4. Problems with that, Joe? I mean, you're really bothered by this.
No, I just think that I would probably say that maybe you're down towards mid-table in the power rankings. That's probably where I'd have them, just because defensively there's been a pattern, but they've also been unlucky with Alisson getting obviously injured and Adrian coming in and just having a nightmare. There's been enough defensively, I think, to have them a bit lower. But I'm not going to argue with the methodology here, Nick. I mean, you got to trust, the process and trust what you go through there. So I agree with number 3. You have Tottenham at number 3, and I know Andy agrees with this, and maybe Andy will have them even higher. But everything seems to be clicking into place nicely for Mourinho. And I mean, my main thing is you have at number 3, but are they title contenders now? We're already talking about Tottenham in that conversation to be after Liverpool and Man City. Are they the next biggest title contenders?
Well, now that the trips to Bulgaria and Macedonia are out of the way, hopefully for a while. Look, I think for them, it comes down to either Carlos Vinicius being the truth as a spell for Kane, especially with his injury history, or maybe we see a little Bale as a striker. But that's the big question for me. If they're a title contender, then that center forward depth has to pay off for them. So that is my only question with them. I really think so, because I think they'll add some center back depth here. And that's my only worry is can they stay healthy and productive at center forward?
Yeah, I think half the league is a title contender for the next couple weeks at least, right? until we figure out if Liverpool and City are going to come out of this funk to start the season. Is it going to be another weird year, like Joe mentioned earlier, with Leicester in 2015-16, where nobody saw that coming? And it happened because nobody stepped up to stop it. Everybody had a down season that year, and there was a huge void that somebody had to fill, and Leicester did it. So until then, I think that we can say, yes, Spurs are going to be in the conversation, and they're one of the teams that could push on and make it a 3 or 4 team race, assuming that Liverpool and City both get back there. It's still, though, and I know I keep coming back to this, it's still going to come down to Mourinho getting out of his own way. He seems to have patched up the feud with Tanguy and Ndombele, which is great because he was sensational against Manchester United, and that's the player that they signed him to be. He's got the depth at every position, maybe outside of center back, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Nick, because it's kind of a backwards world for Spurs now. They've been so strong there defensively, and now that's their weakest area by far. But he's got a world-class player in Bale coming in that can take them up to that next level, assuming that he's got something still to give.
Absolutely. And number 2, Nick, you have Aston Villa. We talked about title contenders. Maybe Villa fans are dreaming about a title push early in the season, but they certainly looked good enough to maybe be in the top 6 conversation, or at the very least be in a top 10 position this season. I mean, brilliant start, smashed Liverpool. I'm going to ask you, I want one quick answer, one word answer. Are they for real? with Jack Grealish leading them? Are they going to finish in the top 10, Nick?
Top 10, sure. That's how confident I am.
I'll take that. And then another team that's sort of surpassing expectations. They're number 1 in your club power rankings. Everton, we talked about them a lot. The Toffees are flying. Again, are they for real, gents? I mean, quickly to wrap this section up, do you think that Everton could sustain a top 4 push? Andy, I'm going to start with you first.
Top 4, yeah, I think for all the reasons I just mentioned about there being kind of a void there. But come the end of the season, if everybody else figures their problems out and Everton kind of just continue on and they fall back to earth a little bit, I think they could definitely fall out of kind of that top 4 race. So I will believe it in, let's say, late November. If they're still there in late November, then I'll believe that they're really, really for real.
Nick, Everton, Premier League title winners this season.
If they beat or get a result on Saturday against Liverpool, then I'm in for whatever you want to put them up there. Jurgen Klopp and Carlo Ancelotti, both with 2 weeks to plan. That's my thing. My team coming back as well. So yes, that's where I'm at. If they get a result Saturday, which I'm sure we're about to talk about, absolutely, I'll put them in for anything.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long and always join us every weekend at 7 a.m. on NBCSN for Premier League mornings. Plus, make sure you subscribe to Peacock Premium as well, where you can watch exclusively live 175 games and same-day on-demand replays of all 380 Premier League matches as well.